You ever just look around at people in a crowd and you say, man, half these people left their brains at home. You got warning labels on stuff, on an iron. Don't iron clothes while you're wearing them. Well, the reason we have these warning labels is because, well, people's done that. They've tried things. They've ate things that don't even look tasty. Batteries. Everything has a warning label today. What has happened to the human race? I tell you, I gotta get a drink of coffee because this one's gonna be good. People don't function today without GPS, Google, social media. Everything has to be referenced on a smartphone. Well, the phone's smart because it's making humans not smart. The more we use, the more we depend on these things for answers, the less common sense we have. Now, what is common sense? I shouldn't even have to give a definition of what common sense is. It's the ability to know something you shouldn't do before you do it. Not because you were ever taught, just because it makes sense. Like if a stove is hot, well, you're not going to touch it, right? You're not going to stick a steel rod in a campfire and only half of it's getting flames and think that the other half is cold because it's not in the flames. The whole thing's hot. So if you grab it, what happens? Yeah, you get burned, man. You get burned. Schools, they don't teach kids common sense. That should come from the parents. I'm thankful I had two parents in my home. I seen a lot of common sense. I seen my parents make mistakes, and I learned from that where I did not ever commit that same mistake. That's common sense because I learned it through experience. We first experience the loss of common sense at school. You have a test coming up and you try to memorize all the answers, but you don't really know the answer. You're just memorizing words. You don't know deep down in your brain, well, this is how this works. You're just memorizing something. And now it's even easier. You get on your phone, there's the answer. And after you've got the answer, a week later, you'll probably forget. And smartphones have replaced our brains. And we've allowed this to happen right in front of our own eyes. People panic when the Wi-Fi goes down. If they lose their phone, they're lost. You ever lose your phone? You are lost. You've lost all communication to the world, and you don't know what to do. You have friends call. Everybody's calling your phone, and you're listening out there like a moron. Well, I don't hear it. It ain't here because you're freaking out because you've lost your phone. And then you have the cultural part of it. Feelings over facts. People think emotions are logic. They're not. What are we gonna do? Outrage culture is a thing now. We've all witnessed this. It's not a good thing. Folks react instantly without thinking. We seen that last week. How long did he think before he committed his brutal act? Because he lacks common sense. And most people his age lack common sense. But where do they get that? Well, they get it from older people, or lack of older people. And it all boils back down to when families started splitting up, single mothers raising children. Well, they're off working. There's not two parents to teach common sense. So they learn on the street, in school, which I've just said, schools don't teach it. So what you get is, well, you get the movie Idiocracy once again. That comes up. When that movie was made, somebody must have looked into a crystal ball, because it's where we are going today. People today have no responsibility like they used to. When you told a man you were coming to do a job 50 years ago, you showed up, you did the best job you could for that man. Today, you don't know if these people are going to show up or not. There's no responsibility. There is no responsibility. They don't have the common sense to see if they show up when they say they are and do a good job like they say they're going to do, they will get paid. And not only will they get paid, what is more important, they will most likely be recommended for other jobs from that person. But that common sense has left the building. And blame shifting has become a skill set that a lot of people today use. They want to blame everything on somebody else or something else or an ideology. You know what I'm saying? There's just no common sense left. And don't think governments don't know this. They benefit from people having lack of common sense. It's easier to control people when you don't have any common sense. You're easy. I look at these birds and squirrels and everything around me in nature. It has common sense. This tree has common sense. Well, it's growing too house to my house. But you know what? It doesn't care. It's bigger. And media, we watch media all the time, and that thrives on people with lack of common sense. Mm-hmm. You ever seen the interviews after a tornado? Those are the people ain't got much common sense in the things they say. Well, it was coming over the hill, and I felt I needed to film it so I could warn others about it. He don't have any common sense. He doesn't realize he isn't going to warn anybody about it, because by the time he gets that out to the people, it's over. But he doesn't realize that. He's out there filming. He wants to make something go viral. And history proves, when people stop using common sense, bad things repeat themselves over and over and over. And common sense isn't gone forever, but it's disappearing fast. And we got to do something about it. I think it's too late. Okay. The only way to bring it back is if people start using their brains and letting it happen. There's just so many examples of no common sense. It floors me sometimes. The phones, we're not getting rid of the phones. Okay, it's only that technology is only going to improve, if that's what you want to call it, improve. Things are going to be so much easier. I mean, my house, I put lights in this new room below me. I don't even have to flip a switch, man. I can tell, that A machine, turn my lights on. That's all I got to do, and my lights come on. I can tell it to dim them, to turn them red, to turn them blue, any color I want. My TVs are smart. All these things that a lot of them we're forced to buy because we can't buy the old school stuff anymore. You don't have televisions in Walmart anymore that you get up and turn the channel. Nope, you don't have those. We're never going to have those again. Vehicles are the same way. I did a video last night showing all the things on my car I don't even use or know what it does. The younger people can get in these cars now and they know everything about them. I don't know half of it. I know how to move the wheel, and I know how to turn and back up and go where I need to go. But this other stuff, do I really need it? Not really. But I didn't have a choice in those things being in that car. I cannot find a vehicle today that doesn't have them. They all have them. Some people enjoy those things. To me, it's a distraction. Oh, I tell you what, get a drink of coffee for my people that love me to slurp. Yes, I have slurp lovers on my channel. That microphone. There you go. Well, I don't know what the answer is long term, but we're headed down a road that's going to be hard to come back from. I think I might have told this story before, but when I worked at the ranch, he would hire young guys to come in. We had this one particular young man, big guy. He, boss thought, well, he's capable of doing some heavy lifting and things like that. He brings them over to me and says, put them to work. Well, I was tearing apart a fence and we're pulling out fence posts. And I give this kid a shovel. He's probably about 19, 20. I said, what I need you to do is after I pull the post, there was a big pile of dirt over that I'd brought over with the tractor. And I said, get you a couple scoops, handed them the shovel, get you a couple scoops of dirt and fill these holes in so that none of the dogs or none of the cattle or any of the, step in these holes and break their legs or you. And I hand him the shovel and he grabs the handle and he looks at me. And I'm like, yeah, how do you use this? Mike, it's a shovel, man. You never used a shovel? Have you ever used a broom? Have you ever used any of these things? No. He's never picked up anything on a stick. And I couldn't comprehend how difficult that was. I mean, if you have common sense, you look at this shovel, say, okay, this is the part that you dig with, right? He couldn't comprehend that. And there was nothing wrong with his brain. He just didn't have common sense. I had to teach him how to properly use a shovel, how to hold it, and how to get the dirt on the shovel. And I went a step further. I said, you can also use these to dig holes. He's like, no. Yeah, you can dig. He says, well, I like it. Sometimes there was a little area on that ranch. I'd drive my golf cart and it was in the middle of the woods. It was in the thick woods. And I'd just scream. And if I couldn't scream, I'd just take a nap. And I'd wake up and it'd be a little different. Things would be a little better. You see lack of common sense all the time in driving. When you're driving somewhere, somebody thinks, well, their car's faster than you. They'll shoot out in front of you. But what if that car was to die? And you're going 60 miles an hour and that car stops. That person that did that if he has common sense, well, he didn't use it. Now, we've all done this. We've all overreacted and done things we knew was wrong, but that's the difference. You knew what you were doing was wrong. And some of these people don't. They're relying on technology, they're relying on internet and everything else for their answers to do everything. And we're all guilty of getting on YouTube. If we want to know how to fix, this is one of the good points. If you want to know how to fix your sink, you get on YouTube, you type in what you got, what you want to do, and there's usually a video on this subject. The difference is my mind is trained to retain that knowledge. So the next time, if I ever have to fix that sink in that way again, I'll know how to do it. Or at least remember a good part of it, know how to get started. And I might need a refresher. But I've been trained to have common sense. There is an endless amount of content on subjects like this because the world is not getting any smarter, folks. It's just not. More warning labels, more gadgets controlling our lives. And the government, they love this. It is called The Dumbing Down of Society. If you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, check it out. I think it's on YouTube. Not sure. I'm sure somebody's streaming it. A lot of times, if the movie's not on there, you can get 15-minute clips of it and then, piece it together, watch the movie that way. But if you haven't seen that movie, you're going to smile because you're going to say, wow, this is happening now. All I can say, folks, is if there is intelligent life out there, aliens watching over us, they need to come now because we need help. There's no fixing what we got. I guess we don't have the common sense anymore to fix things. Not like our grandfathers had. I guess that's about all I got to say. Where'd the sun go? It was right behind me. I was going to do sunshine on my shoulder. Makes me dumber. Happy trails.